In this video, we're going to have a look at how do we sketch a linear line onto a Cartesian plane using the gradient intercepts method. So to use the gradient intercepts method, the first step is to identify the gradient and the y-intercept. Now this can be done from the rule, where I determine c is equal to the value and m is equal to a value. Or if I need to, I can find the y-intercept by determining when x is equal to 0, what does y equal to? So once I've found the value of the gradient and the y-intercept, my next step is to sketch the graph. Now this is done by starting off by marking the y-intercept onto the Cartesian plane and then applying the gradient. So remember, the gradient is as x is increased by 1, y is increased or decreased by what the gradient is. So I can do that to mark a second point. Once I've marked that second dot, I can sketch the line through those two dots to form a straight line and then finish off by labeling that line with the rule from the question. So let's have a look at an example. So in this example, we want to graph the rule 2x plus 3y is equal to 3 using the gradient intercepts method. Now you'll notice from the rule in the question that it is not in the format of y equals mx plus c. Now when we're using the gradient intercepts method, I find it is easiest to rearrange the rule in the question into the format of y equals mx plus c if it is not already in that format. So to do that, I want to rearrange the equation until I get y by itself. So starting off with my original of 2x plus 3y is equal to 3, and I want to work out how to get y by itself by doing a step-by-step rearrangement. So the first part of the equation I want to rearrange is 2x. And at the moment, I am adding 2x onto 3y. To get y by itself, I want to remove 2x from the left-hand side. And I do that by doing the opposite of adding 2x, which is subtracting 2x. And what I do to the left-hand side, I also need to do to the right-hand side. So my equation then becomes 3y is equal to 3 minus 2x. The next step to get y by itself is to divide 3y by 3. And what I do to the left-hand side, I've got to do to the right-hand side. So then that then becomes y is equal to 1 subtract 2 over 3x. So as my final rearrangement, I can rearrange it into the format of y equals mx plus c. So y equals, so then I would move my gradient of negative 2/3 of x up to the front. So negative 2/3 of x and then plus 1 onto the end. So now that I've got it into the format of y equals mx plus c, I can go ahead and identify my gradient and my y-intercept. So my gradient is going to be negative 2/3 and my y-intercept is 1. So now that I have my gradient and my y-intercept, I can go ahead and sketch that onto the Cartesian plane. And I'll start off by marking my y-intercept of 1 onto the Cartesian plane, and then go ahead and apply my gradient. Now this time my gradient is a fraction, so it's going to be a little bit more complicated. The general rule of as my x increases by 1, my y is going to decrease by 2/3. It still applies, but I've just got to work out approximately where 2/3 is going to be. So as x increases by 1, my y is going to decrease by 2/3. So it is going to be roughly about there. So I might do that a couple more times to enable me to get a little bit more accurate of a straight line. So once I've gone ahead and marked off a few more dots, I can join them and to make a straight line. So once I've joined in my straight line, I label it with my rule from the question. So 2x plus 3y is equal to 3. And that's an example of how we sketch a linear line onto our Cartesian plane using the gradient intercept method, where the rule, the original rule, is not in the format of y equals mx plus c.